Have you ever looked at something beautiful and wondered what pain lies beneath that beauty? Have you ever smiled while hiding your tears or helped someone without letting the world know? Today, I'm going to tell you a story that's not just a story. It's a mirror that shows us what we've become and what we can still be. A tale not of kings and wars, but of quiet sacrifice, of unseen love, and of a heart that gave everything without ever asking for anything in return. This is the story of the tears of the happy prince. Once upon a time, in a grand city filled with busy markets, tall towers, and golden palaces, there stood a magnificent statue of a prince. This statue, called the Happy Prince, stood high above the city on a tall marble column. The statue was admired by everyone. He was covered in thin layers of pure gold, with bright sapphire eyes that sparkled under the sun, and a red ruby glowing on the hilt of his sword. From far and wide, people came to admire the happy prince. Children looked up in wonder. Lovers took pictures beneath him, and even the poor admired his beauty. But no one knew that something strange and painful was happening high up there, something not seen by the naked eye. The happy prince was once a real prince, who lived in the royal palace surrounded by luxury, music, wine, and laughter. He was always happy because he was kept away from the sadness and struggles of ordinary life. He never saw hunger, illness, or death. He danced in the palace gardens, laughed with noblemen, and believed the whole world was joyful. But when he died, his statue was placed in the city's center, and from that high place, he saw what he had never seen before: the true suffering of people. The poor, the cold, the sick, and the forgotten. The beauty of his statue no longer gave him comfort. He felt pain deep in his soul. Every day he looked down upon his city with heavy sorrow. One evening, as the sun was setting behind the hills and the air grew colder, a small swallow flew into the city. He was on his way to Egypt for the winter, but he had stopped for rest. He flew around the city looking for shelter and finally landed at the feet of the happy prince between his golden shoes. The swallow was tired and lonely. He looked up and suddenly noticed something that shocked him. A tear, bright and shining, was falling from the eye of the happy prince. The swallow had never seen a statue cry before. It made him curious and strangely sad. "Who are you?" asked the swallow gently. "I am the happy prince," replied the statue, his voice soft and full of pain. "Then why are you crying?" the bird asked. "You're covered in gold. You look so beautiful, and everyone loves you." "Yes, I am beautiful on the outside, one," said the prince. "But my heart is made of lead, and I cannot stop crying. When I was alive, I did not know what sadness was. I lived in a palace where sorrow was not allowed to enter. But now, from this high place, I can see the suffering of my people, and I cannot bear it." The swallow listened carefully as the prince told him stories of what he saw. "Look down there," said the happy prince, "in that little street below the bridge. Do you see the woman sewing at the window? Her fingers are red and bleeding from the needle. She is poor and tired. Her little boy is sick and has no food. He's lying in bed crying and begging for oranges, but she cannot buy even a piece of bread." The swallow looked down and saw everything just as the prince described. "Little bird," said the prince, "please stay with me tonight and take the ruby from my sword and give it to that woman. She needs help more than I need decoration." The swallow hesitated. It was cold and he had to go to Egypt. But something in the prince's voice touched his heart. He agreed. He flew to the woman's window and dropped the ruby inside. She cried with joy, picked up the fruit, and hugged her child. The next morning, the swallow wanted to leave, but the prince spoke again. Look, over there in the square, a young man is sitting with papers in front of him. He is a writer. He dreams of creating great books, but he is hungry and cold. He has no money to heat his room. Please take one of my sapphire eyes and give it to him. The swallow did as he was told. The writer picked up the gem and bought food and wood. He wept, thanking the unknown gift. Day after day the swallow stayed. Every time he thought of leaving, the happy prince pointed to another soul in need. And every time the swallow gave more of the prince's riches. The other sapphire eye was sent to a poor girl selling matches. Then piece by piece the gold leaf covering the statue was taken off and given to the poor. The statue, once so glorious, became dull and gray. His eyes were gone, his gold was gone, and winter came closer. But still the prince smiled through his tears, knowing he had done some good in a world full of sorrow. The swallow grew weaker in the cold. He could no longer fly far. One morning snowflakes began to fall. The bird knew he was dying. I will stay with you, whispered the swallow. You have given so much. Now I give you my life. He flew up one last time, kissed the prince on the lips, and died at his feet. At that moment, the lead heart of the happy prince broke into two. The next day, the mayor and the town council walked through the square. What an ugly statue this has become, they said. It used to shine. Now it's useless. So they tore it down. The broken heart was thrown in the garbage. Throw away this dead bird too, they said. He's of no use. But something else happened. High in the heavens, God looked down. He turned to one of his angels and said, Bring me the two most precious things in that city. The angel returned with the broken heart of the happy prince and the dead body of the swallow. God smiled. You have chosen well, he said. This little bird shall sing in paradise forever, and the prince shall live in my garden of joy. And so the story of the happy prince ended, not with gold, but with sacrifice. His tears were not tears of despair, but of love. He gave everything, even his beauty, so others could smile. And the little swallow, too, gave up his freedom, his warmth, and even his life to help someone in pain. What began as a tale of a statue became a lesson in humanity. We who live in comfort, who pass by people on the streets, who enjoy warm homes and full plates, must ask ourselves, what is the value of beauty if it is only for admiration? What is the point of power if it does not serve the powerless? The happy prince teaches us that real happiness is not found in gold or in admiration, but in giving, quietly, humbly, and with love. Too often we forget that behind the smiles of the rich and the silence of the poor lies a world full of invisible tears. We walk past those who struggle, pretending we don't see. We fear giving, believing we will lose something. But in truth, giving makes us more human. It reminds us of what we once were, before the world taught us to value things over people. The tears of the happy prince were not signs of weakness. They were proof of awakening. When the eyes of privilege open and the heart begins to feel, tears are the first sign of change. And perhaps it is these very tears that water the dry soil of the world's conscience. Maybe we all need a swallow in our lives, a little friend who reminds us of what matters. Maybe we need to become swallows ourselves, daring to stay behind in a cold world, just to bring warmth to one forgotten soul. Maybe that is what the Happy Prince wants us to do. Not to admire statues, but to become human enough to cry for others and brave enough to give what we have. So, the next time you pass a statue or see someone in pain, remember the story. Let it move something in you. Let it make you pause. Let it make you care. Because one day, when all the gold is gone and all the eyes are blind, what will remain are the deeds done in silence, the quiet love, the small sacrifices, the gentle acts of humanity. And maybe, just maybe, God is still looking down, waiting for someone to bring him the two most precious things in this modern city. Perhaps your heart and your kindness. If this story touched your heart even a little, if the tears of the Happy Prince made you pause and think, then don't let this feeling fade. Let's spread these kinds of stories, stories that awaken the soul. Like this video if it made you feel something. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that go deeper than the surface. Thank you for watching. Until next time, keep kindness alive in your heart.